Welcome. It's that time of year again. It's playoff time in the NFL, the National Football League around here. It's probably the best time of year for family and friends to get together and hang out at their favorite spots to go out and root on and cheer on their favorite team. My favorite team happens to be the Baltimore Ravens, a locally owned one downtown Baltimore. Many of you don't know that Baltimore Ravens were not the first team established here in Baltimore. The first team was Baltimore Colts, and then it was Baltimore Browns, and then it became the Ravens in 1996. I would like to start off by talking about a little bit of the history for the Baltimore Colts, which was the first team. The Colts weren't originally named the Baltimore Colts. Actually, Baltimore didn't have a football team yet, and what had happened was a team in Miami had went bankrupt, which was the Miami Seahawks. And then Baltimore was fortunate enough to be awarded their franchise in 1946. In 1949, the AAFC, which is the All-American Football Conference, met up with the NFL, got into bargaining agreements on the movement of the team to Baltimore. It wasn't long after that they came to an agreement that the team was moved up to Baltimore. In 1950, they do a fan poll to figure out which team name that they would like to have for this organization, and in that fan poll, they came out with the Baltimore Colts. The following year, they entered into the NFL and finished the season at about 1-11, which is horrible. And then I think the franchise has ceased to exist for the following year. They were reestablished when the NFL had to, I guess they kind of did a bargain. If you can sell out 60,000 seats a game or something like that for 6 games, they're allowed back into the NFL, which had happened. And then after this had happened, they went on to win a couple Super Bowls, or actually World Championship, because there was no Super Bowl established yet. But everything went awry in Baltimore in about 1984 when the Colts decided that they wanted to relocate to Indianapolis, which is the end of the Baltimore Colts. Now that we understand how we got to the end of the Baltimore Colts, that brings us to the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland Browns were here for about, well, it was actually never here. It was 1995 that Cleveland had said that they were going to come down from Cleveland, obviously, and then relocate here. But they came up with stipulations and agreements among the NFL and the AFC and stuff like that that the name, the color of the uniforms, the design of the uniforms, and all the records were going to stay in Cleveland. But we got the team. So the team came down, we got to stay, or all the players and stuff like that, and and then well, they came up with a fan poll again, which was in the Baltimore Sun, I believe. I could not find anything on the other names, but the Ravens was the winner. They came in that season in 1996, and they were playing in it wasn't the AFC North at the time, it was AFC Central, which are in there with like Texans, Jaguars, and stuff like that. They won their first game against Oakland for the first time ever in their stadium. So the history of the Browns was a short-lived one here in Baltimore, which they technically never were in Baltimore, but so all this stuff that leads up to getting to the Ravens is probably a great thing for the city of Baltimore these days. That's not a personal opinion. That's a lot of people I know love Baltimore, the Ravens, the Orioles, and stuff like that. So here's a little bit on the Baltimore Ravens. 1996, after they had been established, their first draft pick was Jonathan Ogden, this man right here. He is their first draft pick. He was a left tackle, one of the greatest left tackles ever for the Baltimore Ravens. He just recently retired, I think 2 or 3 years ago, and that's when Michael Orr came in, and Jared Gaither moved out to Kansas City. Here's another great guy that everybody might know. This is Ray Rice. And back here I have his jersey. And then the feared and loved, the Ray Lewis. He was actually a part of the first draft pick. He was number 26 all in the 1996 draft. The second pick for the Ravens, and he's still currently on the roster, going 16 years and strong. Ravens had won their first game ever in Memorial Stadium, and I think they had beat the Oakland Raiders 19-16, and they had actually set the record for Baltimore in attendance ever, including the Baltimore Colts, and setting attendance for people showing up, which is about 64,000 people, their first game ever in the NFL. 1998, they had finally gotten their new stadium, which was then called PSI Net, which is now known as M&T Bank Stadium. I had actually been there at their first game at their stadium with the governor. They played the Chicago Bears and they had won that. They went on to in the 2001 season to go ahead and win the Super Bowl. They beat the Giants 34-7, which is pretty much a washout. And this guy right here was pretty much the main factor in that game defensively. So that was their first Super Bowl. On January 19th, 2008, they had announced a new head coach, which is now John Harbaugh. And ever since then, he's been more successful for the Ravens than any other coach, even though there's only 3. There's Brian Billick. He's taken them, since he's been here, all 4 years in a row. He's been to AFC Championship, which is American Football Conference Championship. 2 divisional games and multiple wild card games. And then this year we are sitting at the divisional game as the number 2 top seed, which means there's one more person that's better than us in the AFC, which would be the Patriots. We have finished the regular season with a 12-4 record, and hopefully to take that on and take it to the Super Bowl, maybe get another ring. So therefore I hope that after all this stuff I've kind of instilled a little bit of knowledge into you guys and how the history of Baltimore and everything has arisen to give us this fabulous team, the Baltimore Ravens. With that said, January 15th I'll be sitting on the couch watching the Ravens and thinking about how they're still notching history with every catch and every stride. Thank you.